Hello students, how are you all? Now today we will begin with the first chapter, that is some basic concepts of chemistry. In this chapter we have already discussed classification of matter. Clear? Now today our topic of discussion is the laws of chemical combination. This is very important topic of this chapter from examination point of view, because from this topic short notes type questions can be asked, that state and explain so and so law. Clear? So that way this is very important topic. So laws of chemical combination, as we know, atom when it combines, clear, with the other atom of the other element, then the compound is formed or the molecule is formed. But how do these atoms of different elements, various elements, they combine to form a compound? They have to certainly follow certain laws. Clear? And these laws are, the first law is the law of conservation of mass. This law was given by Antoine Lavoisier. You don't have to remember the name of the scientist. Clear? The only statement you have to remember. Now this scientist Lavoisier, he observed that during a physical or a chemical reaction, there is no net change in the compound. There is no net change in the mass of the compound. Clear? For example, suppose we talk about the reaction NaOH, means it is a base. When it is reacted with acid, that is hydrochloric acid, then the products are salt and water. So NaCl and water are produced. Clear? Now in this reaction you can see the reactants are NaOH, that is sodium hydroxide, and hydrochloric acid. Products are different. They are sodium chloride and water. But the mass of the element of each type has not changed, though this is a chemical change. This is a chemical reaction in which the reactants are completely converted into some different product. Clear? Though there is no change in the mass of the element. Clear? In the mass of the compound. Clear? On both the sides you can see sodium is there, chlorine is there, then one oxygen is there, and total 2 hydrogen atoms are there. So the mass of the element remains constant throughout the chemical or physical reaction. Clear? Another example, if we take, suppose H2O, that is ice, is kept at room temperature, it is converted into H2O liquid. Now this is a physical change. Clear? Here the physical state means from solid to liquid. There is change in the physical state of water. It has been changed from solid to liquid state. So there is no chemical reaction, but this is the physical reaction or the physical change. But here also you can see that there is no net change in the mass of the element or mass of the compound. Clear? So from all these observations, that there is no net change in the mass of the element or the mass of the compound, even there is a chemical reaction or physical reaction, Lavoisier gave the law of conservation of mass, and according to this law, matter can neither be created nor be destroyed. Clear? See, here matter can neither be created. Here NaCl, it can neither be created or nor be destroyed. Whatever sodium atoms are here on the reactant side, the same sodium atoms we obtain on the product side. Means sodium is neither it is created nor it is destroyed during the course of chemical reaction. Clear? So I repeat, according to the law of conservation of mass, which was given by Antoine Lavoisier, matter can neither be created nor be destroyed. It means that it just transforms from one form to the other. Here you can see sodium on the reactant side is present in the form of sodium hydroxide. But now when the chemical reaction takes place, then there is a transform. The sodium has transformed from one form, that is it is in the alkali form, base form, it has been converted into salt form. Clear? So there is a transform of matter from one form to the other. Otherwise, the matter can neither be created nor be destroyed during any chemical or physical reaction. So this is very simple law. Second law is the law of definite proportion. This law was given by Joseph Proust. According to this scientist, a given compound always contains exactly the same proportion of elements by weight. Clear? I repeat, a given compound always contains exactly the same proportion of elements by mass. I would like to add something here in this law which is not given in the textbook. So even you should not write in the exam. When you are asked the statement, then you will simply write a given compound always contains exactly the same proportion of element by weight irrespective of its method of preparation and the source from which it is obtained. Clear? This is the exact statement. So the compound which we have, so that compound, in that the elements which are present, they always, the same compound always contain the same proportion of the element by mass irrespective of the method of preparation, means by which method that compound is prepared and from which source it is obtained. Here I would like to explain this with the example of water. Suppose we take preparation of water, then H2 gas reacts with half mole of oxygen gas to produce water. Clear? Now here our target is water. Water is the compound. It always contains exactly the same proportion of hydrogen and oxygen present in it by mass. Clear? So the mass of hydrogen and oxygen present in the sample of water is always the same. That is 2 gram of hydrogen combines with 16 gram of oxygen in a given sample of water, irrespective of by which method this water is obtained. See, I have prepared water by this method. If we go to the previous reaction, then by the reaction between acid and base also water is produced. Its formula will remain same. Clear? If you melt ice and if you obtain water, then also it will have same formula, that is H2O. Clear? So by any method water is prepared, it always contains exactly the same proportion of the elements by mass, by weight. Is it clear? So the formula of water will remain same by whatever method it is prepared. Clear? Even it does not depend on the source from which it is obtained. If you talk about rainwater, we always write formula H2O. If you take drainage water, then also the formula is H2O. If you take salt solution, then also the formula is H2O. If you take the sample of water from lake or pond, or if you collect it or if you ask it from any other country, clear, in whatever country worldwide, the formula of water will remain same. Is it clear? So here, according to the law of definite proportion, a given compound always contains exactly the same proportion of elements by weight, irrespective of its method of preparation or the source from which it is obtained. Clear? So this is again very important law. The law of definite proportion means in a given compound the elements are always present in a definite proportion, in a fixed proportion. When you are asked to write carbon dioxide, we always write CO2. When you are asked to write hydrochloric acid, we always write HCl. So all the compounds, they always have definite proportion of the elements by weight present in them. Their formula never changes. It is accepted worldwide. Clear? Irrespective of the method by which it is prepared or the source from which it is obtained. Clear? Okay. Then the third law, the law of multiple proportion. Now here again, this is very important law because the statement as well as the example, it is generally asked in 2 marks question that state and explain the law of multiple proportion. It was given by scientist Dalton. Clear? Now according to this law, when two elements combine to form more than one compound, then masses of the elements that combine with the fixed mass of the other element are in the ratio of small whole number. I repeat, when two elements combine to form more than one compound, clear, then masses of the elements that combine with the fixed mass of the other element are in the ratio of small whole number. Let us take the example. See, hydrogen and oxygen. I am taking two different elements. So when two different elements combine to form, see here hydrogen and oxygen combine to form water, and hydrogen and oxygen also combine to form hydrogen peroxide. So two different elements, when they combine to form more than one compound, then masses of the elements, here we will focus on oxygen. In the first reaction I have taken half mole of oxygen, means 16 gram of oxygen. Atomic mass of oxygen is 16. Here it is O2, means 32 gram. Clear? But half of that I have taken, so it is 16 gram. And here oxygen mass is 32 gram. Clear? So the masses of the elements, so here that element is oxygen, masses of the elements that combine with fixed mass of the other element are in the ratio of small whole number. Clear? This is the meaning of this statement. I repeat, when two different elements combine to form more than one compound, then masses of the elements that combine with the fixed mass of the other element are in the ratio of small whole number. So here oxygen, its mass is different in both the reaction. So masses of this element, that is oxygen, that combine with the fixed mass of the other element is hydrogen, and its mass is fixed in both the reactions. Clear? So masses of the elements that combine with the fixed mass of the other element are always means what? The masses of that element which is combining with the fixed mass of the other element. So these masses are in the ratio of small whole number. So 16 is to 32 is the mass ratio of oxygen that is combining with the fixed mass, that is 2 gram of hydrogen. So this ratio, if you simplify it, then it is 1 is to 2. So this is a small whole number ratio. It can never be in fraction. It is always small whole number ratio. Clear? Then the fourth law, Gay-Lussac's law of gaseous volume. Here the name itself suggests that the name of scientist who gave this law is Gay-Lussac. Clear? So Gay-Lussac's law of gaseous volume. According to this law, when the gases combine or they are produced in a chemical reaction, I repeat, when gases combine or they are produced in a chemical reaction, then they do so in the ratio of simple ratio by volume. They do so means they combine or they are produced. Clear? They do so in the simple ratio by volumes. Clear? Here again we will take the example of the formation of water. H2 gas plus half O2 gas gives H2O. Here suppose we have taken 100 ml of hydrogen. Clear? 1 mole of hydrogen. Suppose we are taking 100 ml of hydrogen. Then according to this reaction, if 1 mole of hydrogen is there, then the mole of oxygen required is half. So if we talk about volume, because this law is for the gaseous volume. So here suppose we are taking 100 ml volume of hydrogen, then obviously half of it means 50 ml of oxygen will be required. Clear? In order to produce again 100 ml of water, because 1 mole H2 and 1 mole H2O. So whatever volume of H2 we are taking, the same volume of water is produced. So the gases, these are in the gaseous state. Clear? H2 gas and oxygen gas. So when the gases which combine or they are produced, here we are taking the example in which the gases are combining. Clear? So when the gases combine in a chemical reaction, then they do so in a simple ratio by volume. So here also, if you take the volume ratio of these two gases, so it is 100 by 50, means it is 2:1. So again this is a small simple ratio. Clear? I repeat the law, Gay-Lussac's law of gaseous volume. When gases combine, so here we have taken the example in which gases combine. Hydrogen and oxygen are the gases which combine, or they are produced. Clear? Or they are produced in a chemical reaction, then they do so, means they do so in it means that either they combine or they are produced. Clear? So they do so in a simple ratio by volume. So the ratio of their volume combining with each other will also be a simple ratio. That is, here you can see it is 2:1. Clear? So that is the fourth law. Now the fifth law is Avogadro's law. In this law we will remember only the statement. Okay, here one more important thing. When this law is applicable, provided the gases are at the same temperature and pressure. Means suppose we want to produce or we want to react hydrogen with oxygen, then the temperature and pressure of these two gases must be same. Clear? So the statement of this law is, when gases combine or they are produced in a chemical reaction, then they do so in a simple ratio by volume, provided that these gases are at the same temperature and pressure. So the experimental conditions should be same. Then only these gases react with each other in the simple ratio by volume. Clear? So that condition is very important. Now the fifth law is Avogadro's law. This is again very important law. According to this law, equal volumes of all gases at the same temperature and pressure should contain equal number of molecules. For example, if we take hydrogen gas, if we take oxygen gas, then ammonia gas, carbon dioxide gas, here we are taking different gases, equal volume of them, that is 10 ml. For example, here also 10 ml, 10 ml and 10 ml. Suppose we are taking equal volume of all these different gases, temperature and pressure are constant, means same for all gases. Suppose room temperature and atmospheric pressure. Clear? So the temperature and pressure for all these gases are same, and we are taking equal volume of these gases, then according to Avogadro's law, they must contain equal number of molecules, means the number of particles present in this volume, same volume of different gases at the same temperature and pressure must also be same. We know that 1 mole of any gas is equal to 22.4 liter of that gas, and that is equal to 6.022 into 10 raised to 23 atoms or molecules or ions. Here molecules or ions. So here we are taking 10 ml of each gas, so they must also contain the same number of molecules or atoms present in them. Clear? So here these are all the gases in the molecular form. They are not in the atomic form. Clear? Only inert gases or noble gases, they are in atomic form. But these are all in molecular form. So I repeat, equal volumes of all gases at same temperature and pressure should contain equal number of molecules. Clear? So in this law you have to remember only the statement. It is very, very important. It can be asked in a 1 mark question. Then comes the next topic of this chapter, which is again important. It is asked in 2 marks question, Dalton's atomic theory. Actually, Dalton was the first scientist to explain existence of the particle, existence of atom. Clear? Why? Because according to Dalton, matter consists of indivisible atoms. Any matter if we take, clear, any matter. So the matter consists of indivisible atoms. Indivisible atoms. Clear? So matter consists of indivisible atoms. Afterwards, when subatomic particles like proton, electron and neutrons were discovered, then this assumption was proved wrong. But when Dalton gave this theory, at that time atom was indivisible. Clear? So atom is the minutest particle of the matter, means it cannot be divided further. Clear? And so according to Dalton's theory, matter consists of indivisible atoms. Clear? Second point of this theory, all atoms of the same element, all atoms of the same element are identical. Clear? They are identical, including identical mass. All atoms of the same element have identical properties, including identical mass. It means that suppose I take sodium element. Clear? Then in the given sample of sodium, all the atoms present of sodium, they will have same properties, means they will have same chemical and physical behavior. They will have same melting point. They will have same chemical nature, including identical mass. Means all the atoms of sodium, they will have identical mass. They will have same mass. For example, for sodium, the atomic mass we write 23 AMU. Clear? Or U. So all the atoms of sodium present in the given sample of sodium will have this mass, identical mass. Clear? So I repeat, all the atoms of the same elements have identical properties, including identical mass. But atoms of the different elements have different mass. Atoms of different elements have different mass. For example, suppose we take oxygen. It is another element. Clear? The mass of oxygen is 16. So here oxygen is a different element, so its mass is also different. Clear? Suppose we take nitrogen. Its atomic number is 7, but its mass is 14. Clear? So here these are different elements, so they have different mass also. So second postulate is all atoms of the same element have identical properties, including identical mass. But atoms of different elements have different mass. That is the second postulate or the second point of Dalton's theory. Then the third point, compounds are formed by combination of the elements or combination of atoms. Clear? In a fixed ratio. So compound is formed when the elements combine in fixed ratio. For example, water is the compound. It is formed when 2 hydrogen atoms combine with 1 oxygen atom. So when elements, 2 or more different elements, when they combine in a fixed ratio, then only the compound is formed. So compound is formed when elements combine in a fixed ratio. Clear? Then the fourth and the last postulate of Dalton's theory is chemical reaction involves reorganization of atoms. I repeat, chemical reaction involves reorganization of atoms. For example, suppose we take nitrogen gas, it reacts with 3 moles of hydrogen gas to produce 2 moles of ammonia gas. Clear? So here, according to this is a chemical reaction in which nitrogen is some different gas, hydrogen is totally different gas, they have different physical and chemical properties, but when they combine chemically and in a fixed ratio, then ammonia is formed. Clear? So this is a chemical reaction. It involves reorganization of atoms. Reorganization means here in the reactant, nitrogen bond nitrogen is present. In hydrogen, H bond H is present. But when ammonia is formed, then nitrogen is bonded to 3 hydrogen atoms. So you can see here, in the reactant, nitrogen bond is there and hydrogen bond is there. But these bonds are broken, means the old bonds are broken and the new bonds are formed. So a chemical reaction, actually it is the reaction that involves breaking of bond and formation of new bond, means it is the reorganization of atoms. Atoms are reorganized. In one compound they are present, when the compound is changed, when the other compound is formed, then these atoms are changed, means they are reorganized. Clear? So there is a reorganization, means there is some different type of bond formation, new bonds are formed. So a chemical reaction involves reorganization of atoms, and these atoms are neither created nor destroyed in any chemical reaction. So on the reactant side you can see there are 2 nitrogen atoms, on the product side also there are 2 nitrogen atoms. On reactant side there are 6 hydrogen atoms, on product side also there are 6 hydrogen atoms. So these atoms, this chemical reaction involves reorganization of atoms, and in this reaction atoms are neither produced nor they are destroyed. Clear? So this is known as this is the fourth postulate of Dalton's atomic theory. So I repeat, Dalton's atomic theory is a very, very important topic. It is generally asked in 2 marks question. Let us just briefly revise all the postulate. First is the matter consists of indivisible atoms. Second is all atoms of the same element have identical properties including identical mass, but atoms of different element will have different mass. Third is compound is formed when elements combine with each other in a fixed ratio. And fourth is a chemical reaction involves reorganization of atoms, and these atoms are neither created nor they are destroyed. Clear? So this is all about Dalton's atomic theory. This is all for today. Thank you very much.